Welcome to today's web conference, FastTrack Update for Office 365 Partners. I'd like to turn it over to your first presenter, Michael Pensaroli, National PTS for Microsoft. Michael, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Kim, and good morning to everybody, and good afternoon to those of you who are on Eastern Time. And welcome to our Office 365 community call for March. And so today's agenda, as always, we'll have let you know where those assets are for our U.S. partner community. And we have Doug McCutcheon with us today, and he's going to take us through some FastTrack updates for partners. So we're excited to have Doug here, and I'll turn it over to him in just a minute. But in case you're new to the community or you don't know about all the different assets, we encourage you to use these vanity URLs to check out our newsletter, which usually comes out a little bit later in the month, and you're going to get service news in there. And we always try to do our best to let you know about all the events, particularly the ones that are happening within the U.S. and opportunities for training. And also, we have our Yammer group, so that's a great way for you to connect. We have, I think we have like about 1,500 partners on there. So there's folks on Microsoft, but what I really enjoy to see is just the partner-to-partner connections that you're making and answering each other's questions. So it's a vibrant community, part of that U.S. partner network, but it's the actual Office 365 group. So you've made it to this call, but you can sign up and register for the rest of our fiscal year there. And we also have the blog, which comes off, which is the U.S. Partner Community blog, where you'll find information on Office 365 and also on Azure and Windows devices. And so hopefully that's a resource that you take advantage of as well. So again, welcome, and I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Doug McCutcheon. He's our Office 365 lead here for FastTrack lead for the U.S. And just like Office 365 is an evolving service, FastTrack is as well. And we started talking about FastTrack, I don't know, maybe about a year and a half ago, 2 years perhaps, and so that service has been evolving, and it's really important to keep up with the updates, just like it is important to keep up with the Office 365 service updates. So as an Office 365 partner, FastTrack is something that we're continuing to invest in, in very critical. So I think it's very timely, and we're really happy to have Doug here. Doug, I'll go ahead and undon my headset here and turn things over to you.
All right then, so good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to you all. Appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to talk about FastTrack. The purpose of today's presentation, what I want you to do is kind of walk away with an understanding of what FastTrack is, how it can be useful for your businesses when engaging with customers with limited budgets, and I want you to feel able to position it correctly. And then in terms of moving forward, I would like to see you taking on the integration work with FastTrack and presenting it within your own service offerings. Because as Michael's already said, I don't really think we should think of FastTrack as a separate thing. Really, FastTrack is part of the Office 365 subscription, so the service is paid for as part of the Office 365 subscription, and it really is an enabler for workloads in partnership with both partners and customers. So let me just move forward here and get going. So first of all, I want to kick off with the Office 365 customer journey and talk about what is FastTrack, level set what FastTrack is. There's a number of opinions out there about what it is. I want to level set what that is, and then talk about what next. So let's move on here. So the other thing I want to say is, we'll definitely, I will look at my watch, make sure that we have plenty of time at the end for Q&A. So obviously feel free to put stuff into the text message. Michael's standing here ably answering these things, but we'll definitely have some time at the end. So first thing to clear up is, the Office 365 customer journey. Wow, I mean, this thing has evolved so fast. It continually evolves. I mean, have you seen Delve Analytics? Have you understood how that can help drive customer interest and adoption? It's an ever-evolving service. I think that everybody knows that cloud is here to stay, and it's becoming more and more common. The number of customers who have it now is enormous, and the service continues to build and grow, and we need to figure out how to manage this change, how to onboard our customers to this change, and obviously to monetize it for our own businesses and derive value for our customers. So let's take a look at what we use. This is the Microsoft view. We start off with the modern workplace vision, which is our view on what modern business productivity looks like. You'll be familiar with that through the drumbeat sessions. I won't go into too much detail on these. I mean, each one of these could be its own session, but I just highlight where I think they're important. Customer immersion experience, very much see that as the customer writing their own business value. You get the customer in, they're all enthusiastic about the technology, they land their fingers on the keyboard, they get to try out the new technology they haven't tried, and they walk away with a firm understanding of how their business could benefit from us. Success workshops are something new that we're evolving and growing on. This is post-deployment, and what we're looking to here is to drive that additional workload. The majority of our customers, of course, are deploying Exchange, but they've now looking at the next workload. And as you can see with things like OneDrive for Business evolving and becoming more sophisticated, Skype for Business, I mean, that PBX thing is just great. I mean, I've been on it and configured it. I mean, I've set up telephone numbers. I mean, I'm not a PBX expert, but it definitely is there and available for our customers now, and you can get to it too. And we're just bringing out so much stuff, and we want to make sure that they understand it. And the success workshops aim at driving attention for post-sales. So this isn't a sales play, this is basically a services play. How can we get the customer to onboard and derive even more value from their investment? And finally, value discovery workshops. I'll talk about those later. Hold that thought. Value discovery workshops come out with a TCO, an industry view, and a scale view available to partners today. So we create that vision. Now, your vision is also important. You can create the industry-specific vertical vision. You can also build ISV apps. You can provide end-user enablement scenarios. But let's just start with what we have and where we put our marketing muscle. The next thing we will talk about is it's very important to understand FastTrack is a pre-sales vehicle. Now, you've already said, well, Doug, you've talked about it not being a sales vehicle, but really the reality is we want to make sure that we position FastTrack up front and clearly with our customers as part of the sales cycle. We don't want the customer getting to the point of purchase and then discovering this service. We're making strides and we're making sure that we're marketing to those customers. So expect your customers to be well informed and understand the clarity and the definition of the service. However, we need you to make sure they understand the full definition of the service, and I'll talk about a bit more about that later on. But things like the 90-day 250-seat trial extension, that's something is definitely what I call pre-sales. Now, that could be a services pre-sale or a monetary pre-sale, but 90 days is there. But I'll talk about moving forward. We move to the purchase. Hopefully the customer is going to purchase E5. This is our new hero SKU for Office 365. Power BI, I mean, I love it. I mean, if you've got masses of data, just pump it into Power BI, give it a go, and you soon feel the power of this tool. And clearly we have the PBX offering too, and the foundational is all the stuff that you know and love in E3. At this point, one of the services that typically gets referenced for FastTrack, FastTrack is more than just the FastTrack Center, but the FastTrack Center at this point typically get engaged with the customer around deployment and adoption. So their mandate is to help you get your customers to a point where they can authenticate and log on. Now, being the technical experts, you know, this is not necessarily always the easiest thing in the world. We've also got challenges around data. We need to migrate data from one point to the other. We're providing a service here for you to work with your customers to move that forward, but I'll be very specific about what that is. It's important that we sell it right, we don't oversell it, and that we know exactly what the service is, because our customers will know it, and we want to make sure you can position it right. Finally, we get to realizing value. Quite frankly, that's where we all want to be. The deployment thing is the hump in the road, but the real value, the real visceral value of this stuff is when the application's up and running, the business processes that are supported on this stack are alive and active. So what do we call all this? Let's think about what we think about this as. We refer to this as the success plan. So a success plan is a definition of us where you take the business vision of what the company wants to achieve. So, for example, Enterprise social brings with it the ability to enhance collaboration for specific projects. We've got these business value things that we want to establish. Now, moving from business value to a definition of what that means in terms of workload scope, and when I refer to workload here, I'm talking about Exchange Online, Skype, Yammer, OneDrive for Business, SharePoint, and EMS. I've got to pay homage to the fact CRM is also there now. We need to say business picture is here. Let's pipeline that into what the scope of the capabilities are to support that vision, and then let's get into the technical side. That is what the success plan is. And a success plan isn't a one-stop thing. You don't just hit the customer once. Maybe they just, look, we realize the potential of this. We want to make sure that that entire stack is deployed, but we're going to start on one specific scenario. So a success plan is very much business scenario focused. You can have iterative success plans. You can have incremental success plans. But the success plan is what we provide to you as a framework to draw up with your customers moving forward. So the success plans are supported in the FastTrack portal, which I will be showing you. So let's move on to FastTrack. How's it going? So first of all, I want to talk about the principles of FastTrack. What is it? You've seen FastTrack as part of the customer journey. How does it help? Well, we want customers to have a uniform, consistent, and great starting experience for our cloud-based services. And, you can see that that's it's not an easy thing to do. We've got different capabilities. The needs of mail are different from the needs of Skype for Business, especially when integrating PBX. But we want to create a consistent feel experience, like a framework for customers to work through to know and understand what is the best way of onboarding. Now, the other thing, of course, to realize is this is an evolving service. Michael already alluded to this. What we said last year around Exchange onboarding is not what we're saying this year, because we've evolved that service. That service is incrementally increasing, and one of the challenges I personally find is keeping up to date with all the changes. I mean, I have RSS feeds which I look at every day just to try and figure out what's the latest announcement, what's the latest evolution of cloud capability out there. So we want a uniform, consistent experience, and we will evolve this service to provide you that guidance and provide you that IP, make sure that you know exactly what the latest and greatest techniques are. Network assessments is another one. Say, for example, what we were doing a couple of years ago on network assessments, we're not doing that now. We've got a far more sophisticated methodology now that we hand to you around doing network assessments. So we want a uniform, consistent experience. Now, the other thing we know, and we always believe in, is our partners. Now, our partners are critical to our success. And I'll be talking about how you position yourself with the FastTrack Center later, but let me just say to you, 2/3 of my customers today are utilizing a partner to deploy Office 365. The other third are doing it on their own. Well, that's fine. They've got IT departments, but 2/3 of them are using a partner. So partners are critical in this, and we're making sure that partners are part of this process. So what we need you to do is we need you to understand what the FastTrack Center service is and what, more importantly, it isn't. And I'll be going into more detail on that. But basically, I just want to reinforce the idea the FastTrack Center will engage with the field and the partner prior to engaging with the customer to define what their role is in terms of deployment, whether it's in with an integration or whether the partner's taking it completely, just to make sure that you understand that. So the best way to make sure that we know who you are, obviously, is to work with the field to make sure they know who you are, but also to register your success plan, make sure your customer has recognized you as the partner that is working with them. It doesn't have to be digital partner record. Digital partner record is just one other aspect of recognition, but you make sure your success plan is in there, that your customer has validated you. The FastTrack Center will engage with you when talking to your customer. So we've enjoyed great success with FastTrack. I won't read through the statistics here, but basically, a lot of customers have gone through it, and we have demonstrable, customer satisfaction has gone up from those compared to haven't gone through it in terms of their level of satisfaction with the whole process. The other thing we see is partners who are enjoying the post-deployment halo of getting this thing up and running as fast as possible, is that there is much more higher end business to have, and of course it's evolving continuously. So once you've got past that whole authentication thing, you can access all the new capabilities that come down the line. So there's the principles. Let me talk about just a little teaser here. Who is eligible for FastTrack? So I'm going to just suggest put in your IM message who do you think is eligible for FastTrack today? So, and I'll let the answers flow. Michael, you can perhaps tell me if anybody's giving an answer here. So, who do you think is eligible for FastTrack today? Are we getting any responses there? Are people just sitting back drinking coffee? They're drinking coffee. Come on, guys, we want to give you, and girls, we need to make sure that you engage here. So I'm going to answer the question here. Be aware that there's a couple more coming up. So I want to C. Jeremy, you are absolutely brilliant. You have got the answer 100% correct. Let me just go through why. So here's where this is a kind of a chart that shows you the tiered service of FastTrack. FastTrack is a tiered service. FastTrack is available to all customers in some form or manner. As the customer becomes larger and more sophisticated, we're offering appropriate services for that level of customer. So let me just start with, we define we have the envisioning. I've already talked about success plans, and I'll show you a bit of that, but basically think about the success plan as available to everybody. Use case scenarios, usage scenarios we call them. I call them use case. Been around too long. Rational used to do it a while back. But the use case scenarios is core business and productivity scenarios that you can land with your customer. You start with the vision, you bring it through FastTrack deployment and usage, you land it at the other end. Very quick way of getting there. We're ever evolving those use case visions. We've got a number of pre-canned ones which you can utilize, potentially building statements of work. E5 I've already talked about. The other thing I want to mention here on envisioning, it's an ever evolving service. We have the Office 365 roadmap. Now it's important to us that when you invest in resource and tools that you know what we're doing as well, because we don't want you spending money on tools and services that potentially we're going to have coming into the service. We want you to be able to integrate with those. So go to the Office 365 roadmap today. I'll show you where that is, but look up FastTrack just to check what the investment is. But don't stop there. Have a look at all the other services that are available. There you'll find all the latest things that are coming down the pipeline in terms of Office 365. And for the smart people, you'll be looking at how can I build a service. Maybe potentially you've got a great speciality. I'm going to call it enterprise social again. Well, go check out groups. Go and have a look at groups, see what's happening with groups, go look at what Yammer's happening, figure out what your advanced services are. When we get into onboarding, this is where the tiered service kind of kicks on. Onboarding services is a service where there's a remote engineer available to you to assist you through a methodology that we've developed where we start off with initiate, who are you, what are you doing, how do you want to run it. We go through an assessment where we provide you the latest and greatest assessment of what you need to think about when looking at an Office 365 customer today. Remember, today, not last year. We'll help you, we'll give you some leaders in terms of you've got to be careful. This is the new thing that's happening. Think about this when you're doing it. Then we move into mitigation, which is we expect partners to sort out on behalf of the customer. We have some, and moving forward. We have some migration services. The most common migration service to date that's been used is mail migration, a very core service that we do. We move from a number of third-party mail tools as well as obviously Exchange, and I'll talk a bit more about that later. We have assessment and remediation tools. Active Directory, moving to the cloud, there's certain challenges around special characters. As just one example. But we have a wealth of tools out there that will help you scrub and make sure the customer's ready to move, or potentially move those people who are ready to move and hold back on those that aren't. Adoption methodology and project management templates is what you expect. Moving through to drive value, post this, we want to make sure that usage is the key. Everybody in Microsoft is focused on usage now. We're looking at how can we drive usage of these tools and delight our end customers. So we have offers around usage and deployment. We have service management toolkits. We have awareness kits and user training, and we're obviously we're going to be offering adoption planning assistance, but we also want partners to get into this as well. So this is FastTrack. FastTrack is available to everybody, and as you grow as a customer, 50 seats or more, you're going to get onboarding services, mail migration from 0 to 150, we'll provide you tools. If you're 50 seats and above, we'll provide you guidance. For 150 seats, we'll actually provide you an engineer who will work with you to make sure that you you're the on-site doing the on-site PMing, making sure you've got the right users moving at the right time. They will run tools for you to help you migrate people across. So let me start with the next one. So Michael, let's see how people are doing on their coffee here. So this is a bit of a double one. Assuming eligible SKUs when I'm talking about eligible SKUs, which SKUs are eligible for the FastTrack Center? Oh, sorry. Which eligible SKUs do not pay out on the FY16 adoption offer? The FY16 adoption offer is an offer where we reward, payout on usage. So which one of these is not a payout breakpoint? Anybody caring to guess on this one?
The first one in says C.
Okay, so we've had a guess at 15%. All right, let me just move on here. So the actual answer is 10%. So let's go back here. So the adoption offer today is a tiered payout. So the one last year wasn't. It said basically you needed to be paid out on 15%. This year we'll pay out on 5% usage. Very achievable with those smaller customers, the CCM customers and the SMB customers. They quickly get to that level of usage. But then we will pay out on 15%. So a third on 5% and 15 on 2/3%. Now, here's a secret, the best kept secret, and I'm going to let you know about it now. You can also get the equivalent of a 5% payout for running a value discovery workshop. Remember I mentioned value discovery workshop way back in the beginning here? A value discovery workshop. You go in, assess the customer's needs, comes out a total cost of ownership, a bit of an ROI calculator. You can get paid out on value discovery workshop. So the sequence of this is much more about, the customer has to have paid. You can do the value discovery workshop pre the customer purchasing, but you can make the claim at the point when the customer purchases. That's when they become eligible for the adoption offer. Look at value discovery workshop and make sure you understand that as part of it. The one that isn't right is 10% here. So moving on, I want to talk about the 50-seat change. So as of the 1st of February, 1st of February, we changed the eligibility to the FastTrack Center onboarding. Remember that from the previous slide? FastTrack Center onboarding dropped down to 50 seats. Fantastic. We've been, customers were asking for it. This was, this is a 50-seat purchase limit, so it can apply equally well to corporate accounts as it does now to SMB. But really, at the end of the day, we've dropped the eligibility down to 50 seats for onboarding. As far as mail migration goes, we will provide guidance on the tools that are available to you today. We provide tools as part of the admin console. If you go on there, you'll find a bunch of tools to do mail migration. We'll provide guidance to you on how to use those tools to do the mail migration. You get access to the tools, you run them yourself. But once you get to 150 seats or more, then we'll start bringing in some other tool sets that we have available, and an engineer will work with you to run those tools. So, more complex customers may have Lotus, say, for example. So the other thing that we did is we widened the scope. Obviously, clearly moving into the 50-seat arena, we've added business essentials and business premium to the eligibility of the FastTrack Center onboarding. So any customers in that area you should go to. Now, clearly, moving to 50 seats, there's a potential volume, fantastic volume opportunity out there. So how are we handling requests for onboarding from this point forward? We're handling it in two ways. We continue to automatically reach out to customers of 150 seats or more, irrespective if you filled the success plan in or are the digital partner oracle. The FastTrack Center have always reached out to the customer after first of all checking in with the field and checking in with the partner. As long as you let us know you're the partner, they will check in with you. 150 seats, net new customer, clearly a significant investment. We'll carry on doing that. The other thing we're now doing is you can now request onboarding. So you go into the FastTrack portal and you request onboarding. So you need to go in there and make that decision to use the FastTrack Center. Do request onboarding. Now, people who can request it, obviously, customer can request it if they're on the portal. The partner can request it, and the field can request it. So, there are 3 different people who can do it. So, requesting onboarding is there. Now, there's a slight change to the admin console. This is different for a couple of things. In the administrative console for customers of 50 seats or more, if they have no digital partner record, they will also see a widget that says, hey, do you need some help with onboarding? If you're the digital partner record, they won't be seeing that because our view is they should be working with the partner. So make sure that you're digital partner record for the customers that you have. And be aware that you may have a reach out from a customer who's going to request onboarding through the administrative console if there is no digital partner record attached for that customer. So I'll move on there now. Now, what I want to do here is I want to just clear up some things. We talked about, the value of the FastTrack Center and what it does, basically deployment and migration within a defined scope of work. I just want to go through a couple of things which I need some help with you in enforcing out there. So I'm just going to read something that was given to me by the FastTrack Center as, look, we're seeing this and we really need help in making sure we are correctly positioned and landed with it. So here's the first one. So first of all, they say many times customers come to us with the expectation that we do it all. And that is simply not true. We need partners in field to reinforce the scope of the service. So what do I talk about the scope of the service? Well, first of all, it's a remote service, so there is no on-site fingering going on. But there are a few things that are core to any engagement with the FastTrack Center that partners need to service. 2/3 of our customers need partners to do this uniformly and consistency. The customer needs to provide an on-site project manager and technical resource. So on-site, we need somebody who is managing the expectations of the end users and managing the technical stuff that needs to be sorted to get to the cloud. And the FastTrack Center need the partner to do that. In terms of the remediation list, remember I talked about the methodology. The remediation list is created out of the assessment. The FastTrack Center require the partner to address all those issues that are raised within the remediation to get the customer to the cloud. The FastTrack Center aren't going to do this. Remember, they're a remote service. They physically do not log on to any of the machines on site. So, for example, if you've got a network fire port that needs to be changed, then that's not going to happen. Firewall, sorry. But that remediation list needs to be addressed. And finally, the migration services I mentioned, why it's comprehensive and core to the main scenarios that we're seeing, are not completely 100% going to cover all scenarios. Where there's a situation, say, around archiving, the customer needs to address that through some other mechanism. We're not going to move archiving across as part of this. So you need to work with your customers on what how they're going to move their archives to the cloud, if indeed they are going to. I mean, it might choose not to. Other things the FastTrack Center would love us to support them with and make sure that we land with our customers is they do core migration, as mentioned, but they're not all-encompassing, and I'll show you the scope of that. We provide, and this is the FastTrack Center, we provide guidance and assistance through the use of tools and documentation and shared screens. We do not actually make any changes in their environment or provide hands-on keyboards, and just re-emphasizing that. Good point to know, right? They're not going to physically make the changes. We need somebody at the end there to do it. The FastTrack Center is not support. That's another common misconception. Oh, I've got a problem. There's a fundamental issue with this tool. They're not support. There are some great support options out there. Partners offer their own support services. If a customer is of a certain size, they may also have access to Premier, which partners can utilize. And finally, the FastTrack Center is more of a project coordinator, not a project manager. What that means is you're going through a kind of 5-step methodology. There are tasks that have been taken place. They will say, we're expecting you to do this, and then they will just wait for you to come back and say, we've done it. So on-site PMing or PMing of the whole engagement, a necessary critical part of the change control. Partners are expected to do that, and 2/3 of the time customers are using partners to make sure. So I just wanted to put that to bed. Make sure when positioning this with your customers, they fully understand the scope of what FastTrack offers. All right, here's a bit of a placemat really on some of the recent changes that have occurred to FastTrack in Q3. I mean, as you can see, it's a bit like any of our services, it continues to evolve. I've highlighted some of the new stuff. The one I'd call out most significantly, I would say, is FastTrack is now always on. Whereas we used to have it just for net new customers, we're now having it always on. You can go back to it at any point for any customer who's purchased more than 50 seats of eligible SKUs and utilize the current services that are available. So, for example, you may have done mail migration 6 months ago. Now, the fact is, FastTrack has now introduced file migration, and I'll be showing you a bit more about that. But you may want to choose to utilize that service with your customer. You can go back, but you need to request onboarding for that to occur. They're not automatically going to have somebody come in them and say, hey, let me tell you about this new service. You need to think about it as a portfolio of tools and tactics and resources for you to utilize, position it appropriately, and bring it forward. E5 trial tenant, just to re-emphasize, E5 trial tenants are now available. Get in there, check it out, Power BI, PSTN, all great, fantastic stuff. File migration I won't go into, on-demand requests I've already covered. I'm just going to go into more detail on some of these things. but I'm going to kick off with another question. All right, Michael, let's see how the coffee's flowing. In fact, I'm just going to grab one myself. Which of these subscriptions is the odd one out? So, tell me which one of these subscriptions is the odd one out. So, get...
You've got to give people just like maybe 3 more seconds, because there's a lot of people that are alive and responding.
Yeah.
It takes like just a minute to come in.
I sympathize. I mean, I have the fortune of actually sitting on it. All right, come on, folks. Let's have a couple of answers. Which is the odd one out in all of this? It's a bit of a trick question, by the way, but just want to emphasize. I actually mentioned this earlier. How are we doing?
Well, there's actually a whole host of answers. They're all over the board. Business Essentials, Exchange Online Archive, Threat Protection, Yammer Basic, Education,
Awesome.
A, or Archiving, Education, Business Essentials.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Archiving, GOP.
Right. For those who said Business Essentials, you're the winners. Thank you very much. Now, the reason for this is what I'm showing here is, according to the current service description, what is out of scope from the FastTrack Center. So, the FastTrack Center will not handle Exchange Online Protection, Exchange Online Archiving, Advanced Threat Protection, and Yammer Basic. Yammer Enterprise they do handle. Office 365 for Education, I'll give you a bit of a hint here. You're on the call, so you get to know these things. Currently, Office 365 for Education is out of scope, but if you work with your field representative, there is an exception that they can apply for. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it. But the reality is all of these are out of scope, except for Business Essentials, which came into scope as of the 1st of February. And, all the others are out of scope. Good to know. So when you're positioning with your customer, any of these things they want to light up, you need to provide a service for that. We're not going to cover that in our core services. All right. Thank you for that. All right, so FastTrack data migration, just want to go into a bit more detail of what we've got here. We're now moving, we'll do data file migration. We're going to expand this by look at the roadmap to find out more, but we're currently moving from file shares and Google Drive into OneDrive for Business, and we'll move from file shares to SharePoint Online. So those are the two things we're doing at the moment. As with the service, you can expect it to evolve and increase. Why wouldn't we? So watch this space. We'll make sure we're going to cover off the major blockers that you may find when moving an organization into the Office 365 cloud. So those are the two that we currently have in there. There's the new kids on the block. The adoption offer, we modified the adoption offer to support the 50-seat increase. So we're offering tiered payouts now. So from seats 50 to 149, we're paying $25 a seat. And then we'll carry on with the 15 and 5, which has been around for a while. Note, Value Discovery Workshop, best kept secret out there. We will pay out on Value Discovery Workshop 5% if you're doing it. And then, of course, the increase in the eligible SKUs have been put in there. And actually, it's not even on the slide. I'll have to increase that. And a couple of competencies are also now eligible to apply for the adoption offer. So in summary, that's what we have. Talking about incentives, I think we like incentives. I just want you to make you aware. Hold on to your hat. Print this one off, laminate it, stick it down on the desk. These are all the incentives that we have as part of the Office 365 journey. So we'll support you right up front through marketing, through sales, through deployment, and through adoption and usage. So if you're sitting there with a services opportunity today, think about looking forward through this thing. So run your ruler down these incentives and see which ones you want to position there. This slide is now going to be enhanced to also include, I think, Office 365 proof of concepts are back in through the Pi engine. So if you're familiar with Pi, go and have a look at that. If you're not familiar with Pi, get onto the Microsoft US partner Yammer network. Check out Stephanie Martin. That's Stephanie Martin. You'll find all the detail on what the current incentives are in market. But the idea of here is I'm going to construct a deal. I maybe do an in-person CIE event, which we're going to get paid for. I'm going to then use deployment services, planning services to build the success plan that we mentioned, so SA vouchers. Moving forward, I might jump over a couple of these, but then I'm going to position FastTrack, mail migration as part of the deal to, make sure the customer doesn't spend money on necessary mail tools. Then looking forward to usage, we have the adoption offer. that's out there. We also have Project Online, and I should mention also, and it's not on this slide because of real estate, there's also an EMS offer. So these are all stackable. So you can stack all these offers and figure out a sweet deal for your customers today. So it's in the deck. Take a look at it and enjoy what we have there. I'm going to go quick into a demo now. I just want to make sure I've got time. Let me just bring in my screen. Okay. Let's see what we have here. All right. Are we good there, Michael?
Oh, we're still looking at the demo screen.
Okay. Let me know when it flips.
Okay, it's loading up now.
Awesome. All right. Are we good? Nearly.
Get in there.
Getting there. We're good. Right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the FastTrack site, fasttrack.microsoft.com. Here's your one-stop shop for FastTrack, all things FastTrack that I mentioned, including engagement with the FastTrack Center. I'm going to show you the most important document in the world. Go to Onboard. And by the way, this is recorded, so don't worry if you don't keep up with this. Go to Onboard, and down here, two most important links in the world, what's in scope and what we do. If I go into the migration benefit process, here we talk about what's in scope and what we do and what the methodology is. Now then, that's interesting. They've changed the TechNet article since yesterday. So as you can see, we've updated it. We've made it a lot easier to read. Thank you, Brian Shires. You're a hero to our feedback. But basically, if you're looking at it, so your responsibilities is the first thing I'll go to. Think of this as what you need to do for the customer. Here's basically the expectation of what we need you to do when engaging with the FastTrack Center. Other things you want to look at is data migration, what's in scope. This is great because you used to have to read through this whole thing. It's a lot easier now. So it talks about what we do, what we will migrate, more importantly, what we won't migrate. So think about that in terms of scope. Remember the on-site PMing thing? Your responsibilities. Remember the scope of the data migration? Here you go. That's where you find it. The other thing to think about is the process. This is the methodology that we're using. We talk about the different workloads. Let me just go down into here. The onboarding and migration phases talks about the methodology. Assessment will come out with a list of things that you need to check. It's the current list, very important. Remediate is what you need to do to get to the customer to there. Remember those three things: on-site PMing, resolving the remediation issues, dealing with the out-of-scope items. Those are the things that all partners need to do with their customers. The other thing I want you to point out to is if I go in here, signing in allows me to see who I've got and where I'm going. I won't actually go into it at the moment because I'm looking at the time here, but basically get in here, sign in, check out the resources, and you'll see all the different things that you can do with that. I want to point out that on the Microsoft Partner Network, there is a way, there's a whole page dedicated to partners in terms of FastTrack. Go here for partner-specific messaging around FastTrack. So here you'll find a one-stop shop on everything that's going on, which is a great resource. I am going to log on now. In terms of support, what you do when you're kind of struggling a bit, I'm going to sign in here. First of all, obviously go and read the content, read the stuff on the FastTrack site, read the service description, utilize that. The next level I would do is actually go to Yammer. Yammer is a great place for you to get questions and answers. So if you don't get what you want, this is the MS-US Partner Network. Within there is a FastTrack group, which will flow very quickly, which I kind of hang out on daily as long as I'm not on vacation. So there's a bunch of people that look at this. You can ask your questions, as you can see. Pretty active group, lots of interesting questions. I was on there this morning asking some fundamental questions around how do I get a subscription going for Business Essential, and giving some advice there. So great one-stop. Now, if you've got some real breaks, you think, oh my goodness, this is just not right, there's a great support resource actually on the FastTrack portal. Now, when you look at this initially, you might think, oh, this is just for the FastTrack portal, but there's also great support for the adoption offer. So I can raise tickets. I do on a regular basis, certainly when I get questions I don't know the answer to. I use this support. It's a great log. I can see everything going on. You can see some of the questions that I've asked. Pretty much a 24-hour turnaround is my experience. You just go in here, you create a ticket, you say what you want to talk about, and you can break it down by website or offers. So a fantastic resource there for you to utilize in terms of what's going on. And it makes me look clever because I come back with answers to people. But the reality is I'm using this support thing. There's a secret for you. So what I want to do now is I want to come in back to the presentation. If we can bring back the deck. I want to be cognizant of time here. I definitely want you to have the opportunities. We'll flip over to what is this? So we've gone right back to the beginning. Let me just bring it in. Load it up. Okay, I'm going to bounce through. Now this deck has got much more slides than I'm going to present, but just use it. Go in there, have a look at the appendices slides. There's some stuff there in terms of field alignment and some various other pieces of information which I'm not going to cover today. As you can see, we could go on quite along for this topic. But let me just bounce through the slide here, finish off with what I would say is the recommended call to action for partners. So we got here, we have the demo, final thoughts. Okay, position and use Office 365 sales and market assets to build your customer value. So go look at the discover value. You know, I showed that customer journey, all the assets that are on there. This is, you find under this URL, you'll find all those assets, including the FastTrack. Look at building statements of work that integrate the FastTrack Center. Customers are more aware of the service. They want to use it. Make sure that you're in a position to say, we understand this. We understand its limitations. We want to make sure that you understand what this service is and make an informed decision. Ensure all your customers are in the Success Plan FastTrack portal. The reason being, I want to make sure that the FastTrack Center, when engaging with your customers, that your customer has said that you are the partner, that they reach out to you. Now, there's a number of other ways that they do it, but this is a surefire way of doing it. And finally, in terms of Yammer, join the Yammer group. It's a great active place. Think about this as not just a place to ask specific questions about your customer. In fact, I would use support for that. But general questions about this doesn't feel right, or I think this, or how you'd like to see improvements, how you would like to see the service evolve, how you think the service could be better to help you drive your business. All right. So just to round up, I wanted you to think about what is FastTrack, be able to position what it is. I think you now understand FastTrack is available to all customers. It's a tiered service, and there is a wealth of content out there that's going to be useful for you, and it will keep you current in terms of what's happening. Network assessments is my big example of that. Last year, what we're doing about network assessments versus what we're doing this year, completely different, but much, much, much better. And we'll provide you that content and information, make you look good in front of your customers. The other thing I want you to do, I want you to feel like, okay, I get this now. I don't see it as a competitor. I can see how I can integrate it. I understand my positioning. I'm going to be the project manager. I'm going to be the on-site technical expert. I'm going to provide all the remediation activities that need to occur to move this customer to the cloud irrespective. And then finally, I'm going to sort out the migration out of scope stuff there. All right, so we're going to flip over to Q&A now. So I'm going to drop my headphones off. Are we? Or are we just going to read them out?
Let me just read them out.
All right.
And hopefully people can hear us okay, because I've lost my...
Okay, Q&A time. So I will reiterate what Michael says, so just to make sure everybody hears it.
So the first one is kind of interesting. So some of the folks on the call had heard that the FastTrack Onboarding Center is actually staffed with LSPs, and so it wasn't explicitly stated, but surely the concern is, hey, are you staffing this with my competitors or somebody who could potentially compete with me? Could you address that?
Yeah, sure. So very good question. We are using contractors. So the FastTrack Center, they've got thousands of customers around the world. So we are employing partners to be the engineer. These partners are managed by Microsoft engineers. Now, we're making it very, very explicit. When you look at the onboarding manager or the FastTrack manager and the FastTrack engineer, take a look at their ID. Now, from that, you'll be able to identify who they are and if they're from a different organization. Now, if you have a problem with the assignment of that particular engineer, because there's a whole pool of resources out there, then just get in touch and just state, look, I would like, I'm not happy with this particular group, this pod, they call them a pod. this pod working on my customer, can you reallocate to maybe a Microsoft FT? Happens all the time. We have people who are quite happy to work with those people, but we have, I understand the situation where, we're up against them and we don't want to work with them. Fine. Just request a reassignment of the FastTrack engineer in that case.
Thanks for that. So this one I hadn't heard. Somebody's wondering, is it true that on-site project management or mediation are services that are going to be offered to EPG clients?
So we're always looking at how to evolve the service, and we're going to look at different angles and different extensions to the service. I would say at the moment that is not a service that we're going to be offering programmatically. However, we will continue to experiment and learn from the marketplace. So we will have experiments in market. That may be one example that we have, but the reality is we're trying to figure out how to scale this thing. The only way we can scale is through partners, and we're continually looking at different angles and dimensions on that. I think the other one, if you're talking about projects that we've done which have been successful, there are plenty that haven't gone anywhere. That in-person widget that's coming up in the admin console, that was directly as a result of an experiment. We picked up a bunch of customers from SMB who were struggling. We now have visibility and optics on them, but we also made sure that we fed in the partner requirements to make sure that we were cognizant of their current relationships. So yes, you will see things happening in the marketplace. Are they going to be a programmatic move forward? Not necessarily. It depends on the assessment, and when we get time to market, we'll make sure it's right and proper for what we're trying to do.
Thanks, Doug. And Ron is using all caps in part of this message, and
feels
he
passionate.
Not like the orange pop-up that you talked about, and he would like.
How do you want to switch it off?
Just some feedback.
Yeah.
To give an option to turn that off, because he says that it's always there. He says we're the digital partner record and still there always.
Good one, Ron.
He thinks also that this can be confusing for clients that don't want FastTrack. I don't know who wouldn't, but he says the confusion's there. He thinks that they think it's like normal support.
Okay, a good point made. The design of that particular pop-up, it will not or should not pop up if there's a digital partner record or a CSP partner. So those are two categories of partners that we have out there. So if your customer is seeing that, it's because the system doesn't think they have a digital partner record, or they don't have an attached CSP. If you are seeing it occurring and you believe that to be incorrect, please go to the support area and raise a ticket, and we will definitely pursue that. That shouldn't be happening, and hopefully isn't happening. Shouldn't be happening. Let's check into that particular one, get a support ticket raised. We'll hunt that one down and make sure it's right.
This is one. Just I don't know if I'm not aware of any, but somebody is wondering if there are any incentives for virtual CIEs or customer emergency experiences. So you can do that virtually. And I've been trying to think, is there any incentives out there? I'm not aware of any, but I would go check out the incentives Yammer group just to make sure. Are you aware of any, Doug? Yeah,
we are in corporate accounts. So our segmentation is, it's the Microsoft segmentation. There is a in-person CIE led events. I'm not aware of CIE virtual event incentives. I know they're happening, but hey, plug into the Pi group on the MSUS Partner Network, go to the Incentives tab, ask that question. The right group who runs CIE will be able to give you a definitive answer.
This next one is just curious about when you kind of introduced the migrating the file shares, from Google Drive or from file shares to Google Drive. Do you know what tools they use, and are they available to partners?
Okay, so a good question on that. There's two categories of migration, I think, in terms of how we support. We actually provide some tools to you directly, and those are pretty explicit when you get onto the admin console. You can just follow the links, and you will find them. And in fact, if you go to the FastTrack portal and go to migration, select 1 to 50, it goes through pretty much a walkthrough on what those are as well. As far as the migration services go, that we offer, which are engineering led. So basically, look at the tools that we have, check out which ones we have, which you can access directly. We're providing an engineer to do the migration at the back end. So they will run the tools on your behalf. Now, the reason for that is we're not giving you the tools now. I mean, obviously, we want to move to a point where we do give you extensive tools for all situations. Is effectively cost. Sometimes we will find a scenario that there are expenses involved in running some of the tools, and we'll also make sure that the subject matter expert on how to use that tool is at the end, so you don't have to learn it. So you just need to give them the requirements. You need to work with them in terms of the migration. But we give you the tools directly in some cases. In some of the other situations where you see the scope of the migration services, there might not be a tool directly available, but you get a team effectively of migration experts to help you with that one.
Very good. And this one is getting into little specifics about the actual migration. So if you know, when doing a hybrid setup and remove or move of mailboxes across federated environments, archive mailboxes are moved by default. Is Microsoft specifically excluding the archive mailbox when they do a migration from on-premise Exchange 2010 or above? Do you know the answer to that?
I would say archive is out of scope, practically for all the mail systems at the moment, actually. So there was an implication in that conversation is, well, it's happening by default, but we just need to be clear about what archive means. I never delete any emails, so I have no archive. Effectively, they'd have to migrate everything of mine. So currently, archive is out of scope. If you're looking for the nuances on the different types of approaches for that, check out the service description that I looked at earlier. There's a hybrid, there's cutover. There are different scenarios by which you can do that. So I can't accurately answer the question there, but I would suggest go look at the service description, check it out. Archives ruled out. However, if you're really keen on a particular customer, then engage the FastTrack Center, get a voice on the end of the call, get them to drill straight into that. They have far more content and information that's on the service description, and that's what you're going to get with the engagement.
Okay, and then our final question that we want to ask that you would take our survey is, and I think the answer is yes, we have a customer who's going to buy 200 E3 subscriptions through Microsoft Syndication partner.
Right.
Is this project eligible for FastTrack?
I believe Syndication is, yes. So one of the most common questions that I get every week, actually, is Syndication and is CSP eligible for FastTrack? The answer is yes. However, those partners need to proactively reach out and engage with the FastTrack Center using the request for assistance in the Office section of the FastTrack portal.
This one last question, and the question is, Microsoft doesn't provide email migration on the weekends for customers greater than 150 seats. Can I have a Microsoft engineer do all the work up to the migration and then take over from there? Like, what is the flexibility that you have working with these engineers?
I did not know that. Well, I think actually vaguely remember actually in the service description that was one of the things, working hours only. Negotiate is what I'd say. You have a body at the end, you have a manager, and you have an engineer. Negotiate with them, figure out what you can do and what you can't do. I understand the weekend cutover thing, but at the end of the day, if it's out of scope and there is no flexibility on the service through a negotiation, it's something that the partner's going to have to cover off. And if it's necessarily a requirement, then potentially that's just a reason for the partner to take over the migration completely. Yep.
Okay, great. And then, well, Amanda was suggesting that she thought syndication, may be out of scope. So
we'll check into that.
We'll check on that.
Yeah.
And we have your email address,
Yeah.
so we can respond to that.
Yeah, I've got to say that sometimes there's a difference between the FastTrack Center service and the adoption offer as well. So we'll clear that up. We'll put out a posting on syndication. I want to make sure that we're 100% clear on that, and we get you there. Cheers.
Well, thank you so much, Doug, and thanks for everybody on the call. And I'll turn this back over to Kim.
Thanks, Michael. Ladies and gentlemen, your feedback is important. We hope that you found today's information helpful. Please take a few minutes to let us know by completing a short survey. Please click on the Messages button to find the link to the survey. And you can access the web conference recording via a link that will be delivered within 72 hours post-conference. And I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters, Michael and Doug. This concludes today's web conference. You may now disconnect.